other people want to know. And good morning to those that have joined us on streaming. Revilo are at 2145 and 17427 on their way from Fiji to New Zealand. 60% cloud cover, 14 knots from the southeast and a bar of 1012. And they're doing 6 knots at on a course of 210 true and thinking of fishing. So all is definitely okay on board, Craig. Over. Well, when you started then it was pretty light, but then at the end when you said, how's my signal, it was perfectly readable. It's not all that strong, but it's clear. Over. Okay, so carrying on today and might head a bit west. I'm sure David's going to have some comments on the passage for those that are on. He's just rubbing his eyes at the moment. He managed to get up an hour earlier than he should have this morning. He's still struggling with the time change because we have half our clocks on daylight saving time and half on the other time. And he added the hour to the wrong
direction.
the wrong direction to the wrong clock. Anyway, yep, all sounds pretty good. We got our first bit of rain this morning, and then we've got that bit of front coming down. I'll just see if David has any comments.
I'll be fine.
Yeah, no, he said he will definitely be talking about it shortly, Craig. So I take it you can hear us okay. Over. Oh, that's good. All right, and hello to the rest of you on board there. All right, I'll just see if there's any. Oh, actually, what? Oh no, you won't be able to copy them. They'll be in your skiff. I just wanted to know if someone could give a call to east of the Lizard. East of the Lizard. Could somebody that's further north there give a call to east of the Lizard? Yeah, if you could please, Andrew, you'll probably be able to get them from there if they are listening. It might be a bit early, but yeah, give them a call, please. Thanks. Yeah, thanks, Andrew, for the try. Anyway, so they might come up later. Everyone's getting a bit of us confused with the change of time, and I did get your email. You're the only one, actually, that wants it earlier. Everyone else seems to think, well, apart from Four Seasons, I think they're in your group too. I think at the moment we might just stick to the on the hour, and I will just shorten my session on news, and then David can get started a bit early because there's fewer boats left now anyway. So I think we'll just concentrate on maybe 5 minutes of news and then get into the weather so that we can be finished on the half hour. But anyway, we'll have to just keep track of the propagation as it changes. All right, Gulf Harbour Radio is standing by until we start on the hour.
I wonder if there's any way to tell how many people are still trying to come to New Zealand.
Yeah. Well, good morning, everybody. I think we'll get started. I realise it's 2 minutes to go, but we have got a lot on today. This is Patricia and David, Gulf Harbour Radio. So we will get started. There's a few special requests for weather, and if when Whitehawk is listening, if you could let me know. We've actually had a bit of weather to report. We had rain earlier on. There was a bit of a frontal system come up from the South Island. It's clear of us now. It might be still passing by the Northland area, so those boats coming into Opua will get a little bit of it. But and we had a bit of wind yesterday. But today it's 16 degrees, so that's much warmer than normal. And that was a while ago. 16 degrees, 90% cloud cover, but it will clear a bit for the rest of the day. We are going to get horrible weather later on Saturday and Sunday, but never mind. The barometer is 1014.7 and rising, and at the moment it's sort of about 3 knots from the southwest, just not much more at all. So anyway, we've got a few reports in from those of you who are moving around, and I'll talk about these for the interest of others nearby and following on. Revielo are at 2145 and 17427, and they have 14 knots of southeast, very pleasant actually by the sound of it, 60% cloud cover and 1012. The satellite picture doesn't look very wonderful actually. There's just a big band that stretches from covers all of Vanuatu, just sweeps across to the southeast, covers Fiji and Tonga, just not very pleasant at all. The place to be at the moment is New Caledonia and the Loyalties, which is confirmed by Jan on Alcyon. He's up at Poom with easterly 5 and only 10% cloud cover, 1010. Just a lovely time again to be in New Caledonia, which has really been having the best of the weather lately. Icandia are on the move from Falanga to Denarau, out there about 19 degrees in the dateline. 15, well, he said it's dropped down. I've just talked to Andrew. About 10 knots now from the east-southeast, a 1.5 metre southeast swell. Not much wind for those going to Australia from Newcal. Erie 2, Al is further ahead. He's only got about 3 knots. He's having to put the motor on. He's at 2330 and about 163 east, and just not much wind at all. And Serrani not far behind at 2250 south and 164. They've got wind at the moment, 10 knots of east-southeast, 1 metre seas. Commenting on a lot of shipping and boats, sailboats. So do keep your eyes peeled if you are on passage there. Don't know how Al manages to get any sleep, but I'm sure he's got a good radar detector that will wake him up. And what else? That's about it. We haven't heard anything from anyone else at this stage. So if you've got any questions on weather, David will be covering things shortly. Meanwhile, I will get on to a bit of news, such as it is at the moment. By the way, the New Caledonia elections are next week, November the 4th. These are really, really important elections, and I'm surprised we haven't heard of any troubles there. This is an election to see whether New Caledonia stays as part of France or gains its independency. The rumours are that it will elect to stay part of France. They'd be stupid not to, because they get an awful lot of support from France. But anyway, that's what the situation is there. So those that are there just would pay to be pretty circumspect and just keep out of any troubled areas, particularly in the Loyalties. So going to America, they of course have their elections in a couple of weeks, and there has been a lot of pipe bombs sent to prominent right-wing, well, a bit of everybody actually. No, it's not just the Democrats, David. Certainly it is the Democrats, Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, a lot of people, but then there's the others who have been critical of Mr. Trump, Robert De Niro, George Soros, ex-CIA fellow John Brennan. There's been pipe bombs sent hither and yon, which is nothing has caused any damage yet. Their security systems are really working well, and they do screen all of these suspicious-looking packages, but there are a lot of them around, so it's making people very nervous.
Do they ever say what's in them?
Yes, they are live.
They're live?
Yes, they are definitely live.
Not filled with talcum powder?
Well, there's powder in some of them too, which they are testing. So there you have it. Okay, the continuing saga in Saudi Arabia. 18 people have now been arrested. David reckons they just went out to the desert and saw any old person and arrested them. But anyway, they've arrested 18 people, but 5 of them are high-ranking Saudi officers. Well, no, those ones have been dismissed. They haven't been arrested. I suppose they're hoping that they will go quietly out into the desert somewhere. But anyway, one of them is the Crown Prince's media chief. He's been dismissed, as has the deputy head of the Saudi intelligence service. He was probably dismissed because he screwed up the whole thing and drew attention to it. Anyway, they still haven't found the body bits, so I suspect that there's a bit of a search going on there. More locally, as you know, Prince Harry and his new wife Meghan are in Tonga at the moment, and she changed from the dress she was wearing. She wears the most beautiful clothing. She's got a good sense of fashion. She changed from the green dress she was wearing in Fiji and put on a red dress in the aeroplane. And unfortunately, she didn't wander around with it, because as she got off the plane and while she was in Tonga, the tag was seen hanging behind the dress hem. It's definitely a return tag, so it's causing a lot of mirth that she, despite her wealth, might decide to return the dress after she's worn it in Tonga.
They do that too.
Yes,
the royals actually return clothes.
Well, they obviously, nobody saw. In fact, I'm sure heads were rolled, particularly Harry's, that didn't check what she was wearing when she got off the aeroplane, but there she was with beautiful. In fact, it matched the dress. It was a red tag.
I like the sunglasses. $345 for a pair of sunglasses.
Well, that's what they are these days.
Yeah, but it looked like they came off of an Opel car.
Well, they were New Zealand sunglasses. That's why they were given attention here in the New Zealand papers. They were very wonderful, were they? They did look pretty boring. But anyway, they were fashionable, and she's been very careful to pick clothes designers from the places that she's going to. Well, not so much Fiji and Tonga, but certainly New Zealand and Australia. All right, talking about New Zealand, we now have these e-scooters. So they're in Auckland and Christchurch and causing absolute mayhem. They cost you $1 to unlock an e-scooter, and then
explain what it is.
I will explain what it is, and then it's 30 cents a minute, which is 18 New Zealand dollars an hour. And these are sort of electric scooters that you can actually ride on the footpath, much to everyone's disgust, because they go up to 25 kilometres per hour. And they're not all that easy, evidently, to balance on. You have to be young, and people say that if you're young, then you could jolly well walk or run if you really wanted to get around fast. But so far, they've been around for a week now in Christchurch and Auckland. And so far, there's been 14, or was it 18? Can't remember. But anyway, there have been quite a few accidents, and ACC are having to deal with that. There's so far 600 of them in Auckland, with 2,500 more to arrive in the next few months. So I'm sure you'll be able to pick up one if you want it and create mayhem yourself on the footpaths. How they could use them when it's so full of people. And the trouble with Auckland downtown is that you get people off cruise ships, and we Kiwis always walk on the left on footpaths so that it's faster in crowded footpaths. But of course, people off cruise ships come from the other part of the world and walk all over the footpath, or if not all over, certainly on the right. So it's absolute mayhem in Queen Street in Auckland. So I don't know how these bikes are going to, well, I'm sure there's going to be some new rules anyway. Moving on, Ethiopia has its first female president. I'm sure none of us are going to have Ethiopia on our to-go-to list, but if you do go there, they have their first female president. And in the UK, women can now serve in all roles of the armed services, including the SAS, if they pass the requirements, of course. So you young fit ladies out there have got a new goal if you really want to get involved in that. Quite frankly, I don't ever aspire to being the president of Ethiopia or joining the SAS, but anyway.
I hear they have good food in Ethiopia.
Yeah, right. Okay, stocks. Asian stocks have fallen sharply. I don't think anyone out there either would have Asian stocks, but anyway, they fell sharply overnight. It probably as a result of the big drop in the Dow. It went down 600, and the Nasdaq has also gone down about 4%. 4%, mainly with the tech stocks. They have gone down a bit. So New Zealand hasn't got too many tech stocks, so our stock market hasn't been hit hardly at all. I think Australia's been hit a little bit more, but certainly the Asian stocks have gone down. All right, I am going to stop there, mainly because I haven't got any more news. There's just not much happening around the place at the moment. But I had mentioned a couple of days ago that I thought of moving everything forward a bit, but we've had a couple of emails to say that things are still okay at this time. So what I thought I would do is just next week we'll just chop the news items a bit and get the weather started a bit earlier so that things will finish a bit more early, probably finish by about 30:30, because a lot of you have already left or arrived wherever you're going, and there's not too many people left that we know of anyway, so we can deal with your particular efforts separately. Whitehawk, I need to know if you are out there. And indeed, Margaret has just reported from Waipua, 3 knots of northerly with the rain still hanging about there, but it will clear this morning, so things will improve throughout the country while we wait for the next burst of activity. All right, is there anything before I pass the microphone? Whitehawk, go ahead.
Yeah, we're good for you.
Oh, good, because David's got some information for you. Boy, your radio is superb, Annette, so that's good. Okay, I'm going to, do you want to handle Whitehawk now? Okay, he's going to no, I'll pass the microphone.
Just hang fire, Whitehawk. I want to go through the weather first, and then we'll talk about your specific requirement. That's all right with you. So good morning, everyone, and not a lot of change in the Southwest Pacific since our report yesterday. By lunch today, our high will have shifted over to the east. I think it's going to be near about 32 and 145 west, 32, 145 west. So it's as you can see, starting to shift pretty well. That's basically south of French Polynesia. Now, there is little in the way of pressure gradient over the cruising routes. Now, those of you that have just left have got a bit of breeze. But in the mid-Tasman, I'll get back to that in a minute, but in the mid-Tasman, we have a very, very small depression that, well, for lack of a better word, it's trying to huff and puff its way up. It's just a little thing that's starting to get going, but it does. It finally looks like it's going to make headway by the weekend. And on Sunday, it should lie halfway between Australia and New Zealand, and believe it or not, drop down to about 994 millibar. Now it grows too in area. So what's going to happen? It's going to extend the cyclonic isobars north all the way up to about 24 south, maybe even a little bit further equatorward, but we'll have to see. Another small depression pops up just southeast of Venetian as well shortly after this happens. So we've got some convective activity that's going to be taking place there. Okay, those that are en route to New Zealand are going to eventually encounter northwest winds thanks to this depression that we talked about. But before that happens, we will have some northeast winds for you by tomorrow on Saturday. and that is going to be from Fiji on the run line to New Zealand. And of course, you're going to have a cold front to encounter. This front is going to extend to Fiji and link up with the existing trough that's there now. This is something that we talked about a few days ago, and not much has changed in terms of the projections. It still looks like this is going to happen. So cold front moving through, linking up with the trough, and then they tend to accentuate each other. And White Hawk, that's something for you to think about. By Monday morning now, on run line, expect westerlies, I would say. Tuesday, from 30 south to New Zealand, the wind picks up considerably, I'd say, maybe even 25 to 30 knots. And that'll be out of the west to the west-southwest. And the seas are going to pick up. There were some very, very big seas. We've been following a lady that's doing a circumnavigation. I've been giving her reports, and she's been all the way from west of Perth through to Tasmania over the last week, and she's had seas of up to 6 to 7 meters. And that area of high sea is going to actually wind up being west of New Zealand. So those of you that are coming down from the islands are not going to get seas that big, but you are going to get some swell from that intense area. So don't be surprised that it does start to pick up for you as you get closer. Now on Wednesday, it looks like southwest winds, 20 to 25 knots. And on Thursday, southerly quadrant winds. And the reason for that is the new high is going to be making its way to the mid-Tasman. You're going to be on the eastern side of its ridge. By Friday, there'll be another little weak front over New Zealand. The winds approaching the country, probably west, shifting southwest after the band goes through. But I think by then most of you will be in. If you're not, on Monday, what day is Monday? The 29th, I think. The winds, well, let's just say on Monday, we'll talk about how things are going to shake out for the next week for sure. We'll be back on the radio then, and we'll update you on the passage. But as of now, that's what it looks like through the days that I gave you. Now, over the weekend, those of you that are underway, just take care with that frontal band that's going to be rolling through. The winds will be in a reasonable direction for you, but it will be slowing, and there will be wind shifts with that. So I wouldn't have the old spinnaker out unless it's made out of Kevlar, bulletproof Kevlar. Up in the tropics now, we've got quite an active trough that spans all, as Patricia said, from west to east, all the way from the Solomons. They're affected first, then it goes on to Vanuatu, then Fiji, Tonga, onto the southern Cooks. Now, it's broad enough that it's going to encompass Rotuma, Wallis and Futuna, and it even is going to stretch to Samoa. The only escapee is New Caledonia, as Tricia said. It's looking pretty nice there, and looks to be that way for a while too. Now, those of you that want to leave New Cal for Australia may want to rethink that little trip. Those of you that left, well, you're on your way, but if you haven't left yet, you may want to look a little bit harder at what the situation is. Leaving today is fine. Saturday is probably going to have to be a motor for you. And Sunday, quite possibly headwinds. And then Monday, we are looking at south-southwest winds to about the halfway mark. And then it turns east-southeast. And by Tuesday, the southeast trades finally come back about 15 to 20 knots. And then they ease Wednesday to around 15. Sort of an annoying passage. I don't think we would do it, mainly because of that. There's nothing hazardous in it. It's just more or less a pain, if you will. Okay, putting the spotlight on Tonga first. Satellite imagery is giving us a pretty good look at the trough affecting the country. This is the one, again, that starts off at the Solomons Cloudy and showers for today and through the weekend, really. Airport conditions early this morning, Babel, northeast 5, scattered to broken, barometer 1010. The Hapais, east 10, showers, and their barometer 1011. And down there in Tongatapu, southeast at 8, and scattered to broken, barometer 1013. A little bit of a pressure differential through the chain, but not enough to bring really strong winds. Now, Saturday is interesting. Saturday, I see cyclonic winds that are to the northwest of Babao, and that would be to the northeast of Fiji. Now, Babao itself, Saturday, I think we're looking at northeast about 15 to 20. The Hapais southeast, probably around 15. Later on Saturday, Babao and the Hapais looks like easterly 10 to 15. Sunday, about the same thing, but a chance for northerlies over Babao, and then northeast for the Hapais. So, in a sense, you can see that bit of a cyclonic urge that's right there. Now, Fiji, as we mentioned, stays pretty soggy. There are breaks in this trough, but it sure is persistent. And Fiji Met still has the heavy rain alert in force, but it dropped it for the Osawas. And if you look at the satellite, you'll see there's a lot of breaks right there to the west of the Osawas. So that'll be moving in and eliminate the chance for some pretty heavy rain. But a few areas have flood alerts, so it's not all good. Now, this trough is going to continue through the weekend, so don't worry if you run out of suntan lotion, that's for sure. And don't forget that it's probably going to be linking up with the cold front that's coming up from New Zealand. So that's going to accentuate the crummy weather. Now, the high wind advisory that Fiji Met has had is dropped. But there will be thunderstorms, and there are thunderstorms in this. So, in my opinion, don't be too complacent, because you do get those gusts and the wind shifts in these thunderstorms. And if you get into a gaggle of them or a complex, that could last even longer. So just watch where you are and keep an eye out for things. Winds in the mean today, probably southeast 15 to 20. The same thing tomorrow. Sunday may be a little bit lighter, although that cyclonic circulation that I mentioned may affect the Lau and a little bit to the northeast of the Lau. So over there, the winds could be southeast to southwest to west. In other words, it's sort of the west side of the circulation that I'm talking about. Now, Vanuatu is also ground zero for the trough. Again, there are breaks, broken areas for sure, but still plenty of showers to go around. And with a little bit of luck, the trough may lift over the weekend. So things could very well improve for Vanuatu. Keep our fingers crossed on that. The winds today, mostly southeast 15 or so, and tomorrow still southeast, but maybe about 10 to 15, a little bit lighter, and more or less the same on Sunday, but quite light in the south, even lighter than that, and that's Erromango through Anisham. Now, New Caledonia does escape the trough, as we said, lots of sun today with the usual scattered cloud. The winds in the lagoon, southeast about 10 to 15. That's great for the elos, those of you that are taking a chance for the late season runs out to the beautiful areas out there. Saturday now is going to bring a wind shift. Expect variable winds to possibly westerlies. They should be less than 10 knots or around there. And they may back to the southwest a little bit later in the afternoon. And on Sunday, westerlies again. Now, listen up for those of you that have not made it to Ile de Pan and have wanted to go there, but haven't because of the southeast trades that make it quite a tough trip. This is your golden opportunity. You get westerlies or thereabouts westerlies for a couple of days. That would get you down to Ile de Pan with actually no worries at all. So those of you that want to see it, go ahead and do it. Now's your chance. No, the actuals this morning, Amity Light was East 17. Those were the gusts. Picks up quite a bit out there at Amity. Ile-de-Can was East Southeast at 6, and Nemea East Northeast about 10, and most of the areas in the loyalties East Southeast about 10. So fairly decent. Now for Whitehawk, Whitehawk wants to go from Fiji to Samoa, and they are wondering about conditions, and they're quite right. They're worried about strong trade winds, which makes that trip quite difficult. I'll tell you, Whitehawk, it's not really looking good to do that. You not only have got this active trough, but the interaction with the cold front might make things a little worse. And then looking at some of the modeling, probably different from what you're looking at, there could very well be headwinds that are on the latter part of that trip. So hold on one second. Yeah, I'm looking at Tuesday, Wednesday of next week, and I'm starting to see those headwinds I talked about, just from Samoa west to maybe the Wallace area. It looks like northeasterlies, believe it or not. Northwesterlies between Fiji and maybe Futuna. But then northeasterlies from there to Samoa. So overall, I don't know. You could do it. The winds don't look all that strong, even though they're not in very good shape as far as the rain and the squalls and all that sort of stuff goes in the Fiji area. I think if it were us, we would wait and see what happens. We could rehash this on Monday when we get back on the radio. I don't think, given the conditions over Fiji, you'd be going this weekend anyway. Is that a Roger, if you're listening? Over. Well, may not be listening now. Okay, anybody else with any questions?
Yes, do we have a question
or
here?
Comments? There is a question. I'll give this to the boss first.
Yeah, he's just looking at the New Caledonia to Bundaberg next week, or starting Sunday, see what it's like for you, Judy, so just stand by there. Oh dear, Diego says one of the worst days for propagation, a lot of QSB and statics. But it's on streaming, so at least if you are interested in the comics, you have to go to streaming, I'm afraid. And Whitehawk might have to do that. So it does look, folks, as if it's getting worse as the time goes by. So I'm going to have to review what I do next week. I think what I'll do is I'll be on the radio at 1:45 next week, 1:45 the hour, and we will play it by ear to see what propagation's like. So we're now going to look at New Caledonia to Bundaberg, starting from Sunday and going through next week.
Well, from what I can see, I would skip it. What are you laughing at? I know you want to get there, and I don't mean to be funny about this. But now Sunday and Monday don't look very good, but Tuesday looks a little bit better. I'd say on Tuesday we've got some trades starting to build with the new high that's coming in. But Saturday, Sunday, and Monday don't look very good at all, I don't think. That's our opinion. We don't give advice. So it's up to you. But if you don't go, stay tuned on Monday, and we'll see how things are shaking out then. Here's the Chief.
All right, well, if nobody can hear us, I guess there's no point in asking for anybody with anything, because this is a bit of a shame, because David puts a lot of work into this broadcast, and if nobody can hear it, then it's just a waste of time. I just want to know if iCandy could you give another call to East of the Lizard if you're still copying us, Andrew. iCandy, Gulf Harbour. No, nothing heard there either. All right, folks, no point in carrying on. Is there anybody with anything? Seeker, go ahead.
Good morning, Patricia. I've got a very good copy of you at Isle Pines.
Oh, that's excellent. Thank you. At least we're getting through there. And it does look a rather beautiful day in the Isle of Pines, over.
It's been absolutely gorgeous. We had a little bit of rain a couple days ago, but I think we're in the best weather here. And heading over to the eastern side of the western side of the Southern Lagoon to a couple of the islands. Is that over?
Oh, that'll be lovely. Hopefully you'll go to our favourite Wā, that's Ua, UA. Absolutely a beautiful spot, so enjoy that. If you've got such a good signal, would you mind just giving a call to East of the Lizard? That really is the real name. East of the Lizard, over. There's a question from Bruce. The prospects of departure to New Zealand over the next few days from Muscat.
Well, you heard about it.
Well, thank you for that. Beautiful signal from you. Thank you very much. I'm envious of where you are at the moment because we're going to get rain over the weekend. So thank you from John for talking about White Hawk. We'll replay the streaming to catch it, so that's good. And Bruce is asking about departure over the next while. Margarita from Muscat to New Zealand, nothing much over the weekend, so we'll cover that again on Monday. We definitely, David is shaking his head, we would not do it. All right, so we'll cover that one again next week. Okay, sounds like that's about it for everybody. It's been a struggle, but at least we've got stuff recorded on streaming if you need it. And have a good weekend, everybody. We will be back again on Monday. Well, hopefully we'll be back again on Monday. We're driving our car on Pukekohe track, which is a very dangerous track at the best of times, and it's going to be very wet on Sunday. So we'll hopefully be back, one of us anyway, on Monday. Cheers, everybody. Have a good weekend. Oh, there was somebody there. Who was that? Oh, Scoots. Hello. Where are you?
I just want to let you know you're talking to the beach.
Ah, you're up in the Usawas. Well, I'll tell you what, doesn't look all that brilliant up there, but I'm sure it's lovely and warm and you'll enjoy it. Over. Yeah, it's still good up there, and yep, we've got you on the list here for an eventual return. So enjoy the Usawas.
I'll say something about that.
Oh, David wants to comment about that. Hang on.
Yeah, those of you that do want to try to get out on Monday or something like that, the problem is this high is building in the Tasman. I'm sure you see it on your grids. Plus the low is just departing New Zealand. This is on around Wednesday of next week. Those winds in between that high and the low are going to be southwesterlies, a good 25 knots. So that's going to be from 25 south all the way to New Zealand. So if you were to leave Monday, as an example, you would run into this, and it would not be pleasant at all. So that's the reason that we wouldn't make the trip. But there'll be windows, don't worry, there always are. Just patience.
Yeah, we're looking at Thursday, Friday.
Okay, well, we'll be concentrating on that for those of you next week. Alrighty. Enjoy the weekend, everybody. I hope it does sort itself out up there. But, boy, the royal couple will be getting drenched in Tonga, and by the time they get to New Zealand, they'll get a drenching here. So they'll be looking forward to going home, I think. All right, cheers all.